my name,
Starting video
John,
chat.
on the Zoom?
It is, and John, we are live. It is April 22nd, 2026, 7:33 p.m. And yeah, I see John. How's John doing?
John's doing okay. John's doing really good actually.
Good, good.
My finance class.
That's right. That's right. You're going to be a legitimate financial advisor. Soon we can be like, that's financial advice. Soon we'll be able to do that. Anyways, so yeah, just to, we're going to talk about why Bitcoin today, and just, looking at the chart for today, it looks like we've been fairly predictive. I think we're pretty smart right now. At least that's how I feel.
Yep, looks good.
But yeah, you wanted to talk about a few different topics, and we were going to start with the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, it's just some stuff happening there.
There's just a couple of things.
Yeah,
A few countries are talking and things are happening. People are unhappy.
right. So, um, Iran wants to run a toll booth on the Strait of Hormuz, and they will accept payments in a few different ways. One way they want payment is Chinese yuan, which is super scary because that's China. That's China, right? China is trying to make the petro yuan, just like we had the petro dollar. China wants their money to be used for oil because then their country gains the benefits of their money being used for oil. Um, the other, and I can't remember what else they would accept, but they also would accept a Bitcoin. No other cryptos, just Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Chinese yuan, and I think even I know the other one. Tether on Tron of all blockchains.
Yeah, which that's a
And
Chinese blockchain,
yes, it's Justin Sun's blockchain, more
which,
specifically.
but
It is
it's but
definitely
it's
not
found, but
Chinese.
I'm pretty
It's
sure it's
Justin
based
Sun.
in China.
Well, Justin Sun is Chinese.
Yeah, and if you're based in China, you are in a communist country where everything belongs to the government.
Does
So
Justin Sun live in China? I
I
thought he
don't
was in
know, but if his
Singapore.
business is there, he may
I
as
think he's in
well.
Singapore, bro.
Well, whatever. If the business is in China, the business is it's owned by the government.
Yes, and that's the problem with Tron, right? Is that it's a centralized blockchain. It's an Ethereum fork, and Tether as well. Tether, no matter which blockchain Tether is on, it's centralized. So it doesn't even really matter what blockchain you're using Tether on. It's the coin itself is centralized. The coin Tether coins can be frozen or seized by Tether no matter where they are. They can be on Ethereum, Solana, Tron. It doesn't matter. They can be frozen, freeze and the Tether can freeze and seize the tokens, and Justin Sun can very likely freeze and seize any tokens on the Tron blockchain. But
Which is why it's kind of hilarious that he's, crying foul over World Liberty
oh, the World
Financial.
Liberty Financial tokens, right? Yep, and that's another example of a shit show of a centralized project. There's been a lot of centralized projects running into problems lately, hacks and whatnot. And then Chinese yuan. I think China's using their own centralized blockchain for some digital yuan stablecoins, basically.
They're not well, they're not stable coins. They are what's the much more Orwellian version.
CBDCs.
Yeah, central bank digital currency
Yeah.
is what it is.
So there's that, and then the third option was Bitcoin. And why Bitcoin?
Uh, well, because when you possess it, it's yours. Can't be
Yep.
taken from you unless somebody, wrench attacks you.
Right. And the United States is trying to wrench tech Iran a
That
little
they
bit.
are, they are, they are wrench attacking Iran.
And Russia showed that it's not a good idea to have a war with the United States while holding hundreds of billions of dollars of USA assets that can be freezed and seized by the US government. And Bitcoin cannot be frozen and seized by the US government at all, no matter what. And is more Bitcoin is more resistant to freezing and seizing than any other crypto on Earth, and
Yeah.
that is a fact. And that
So
is why
it's actually, I'm fairly certain, the only one that is of that category.
Probably. And Iran is familiar with Bitcoin.
Have
Iran
been
has a lot
mining
of
it.
yes. And why are they mining it, Jack?
Probably because electricity's cheap, is my guess.
Yes, and why is their electricity cheap?
Well, they have the energy supply.
Yes, and why are they not selling their energy supply for Chinese yuan? Why are they mining Bitcoin with it?
Uh, well, there's a couple of different questions there, I guess. Why are they mining Bitcoin? Well, they want to keep their money somewhere where it can't be taken, I would guess. I'm not in their head, but
That's why they would hold Bitcoin.
why would they also not want to, hold Chinese yuan? Is that right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yep.
Is that what you asked, or is that not what you asked?
It's very related to what I asked.
What did
So
you ask?
you should answer it.
Well, what did you ask?
Well, I was so I think I'll just give my own answer.
Okay.
I think that Iran is mining Bitcoin because they can't sell all the oil they would like to sell as easy. I mean, they are selling, or they were before this war started. They were selling oil to China for Chinese yuan. They were doing that, but I'm sure some of their oil they don't. They're being sanctioned by the United States, so they don't sell as much oil as they would like to. They have extra oil that they can't sell because they can't use the U.S. dollar system. They're being sanctioned by the United States. So what do they do with all this oil? Well, if they can mine Bitcoin with it, and then they can sell the Bitcoin for whatever they want, or keep it, either or. So they can turn their oil into money, Bitcoin specifically,
Mm-hmm.
with the Bitcoin mining. So that's what they've been doing. And so, and I believe they've been selling oil for Bitcoin sometimes, but probably usually for Chinese yuan, because that's what China
But I
wants
mean,
to
like, why not
spend.
just sell China more oil? It's not like they don't need it or want it. Like, they'd be happy to buy more oil.
I think 90% of the Iranian oil does get sold to Bitcoin, China. So no, you bring up a good point, because they probably could, at least before the war, they probably could sell all of their oil to China. So maybe they did want to mine some Bitcoin. They probably wanted to participate in the Bitcoin network, and they probably wanted to participate in the Bitcoin network because they wanted to make sure it was secure and hold some Bitcoin.
Well, I bet you that anything that they just there's at least some crypto orange pilled folks over in Iran that are
I'm
in.
pretty sure they're holding some Bitcoin.
Yeah, of course. And well, we know
Uh,
that they're holding some Bitcoin actually.
yeah. Okay. Do you know how much?
I don't. I don't
Okay.
know. I mean, I don't check on chain or anything like that, but like
Right.
I've heard some of the people that do, they're like, we know that Iran has been mining Bitcoin. We know that they're holding Bitcoin. Um,
And
somehow, right? I don't.
yes, and the reason why Bitcoin, as opposed to any other crypto, is because it's, again, the number one most censorship resistant.
Right.
Not even the United States government can stop Bitcoin.
Right. Unless
Can't
they come
freeze
in
it.
and
Can't
drop
seize it.
tomahawks on you and kill you. I mean, maybe
Right.
then they can
Right.
stop you from spending it, but then that money goes bye-bye,
Right.
and it's better for everybody else that is holding Bitcoin.
Right. But we can't just seize it like we can seize dollars, and also China can freeze and seize their yuan. Right. If
Well,
Iran pisses off
not if
China.
not if you bring cash, but
Right, but then right, but yes, but they're not using paper
no, you're
cash. They're
right. They're not.
using the CBDCs,
Well, they're using
right?
a well, no, they're using a different settlement layer that China uses for its banking, and there's a few other ones they've set up. There's a couple of different like payment, that the BRICS nations have been ways to try to move money
Hmm.
um, with as
Alternative
little.
networks to
Right,
Swift,
right, and there are some they don't do a ton, and it's because people don't actually want those other currencies.
right?
I mean, people, in spite of a lot of talk and fear, mongering really about whether or not the U.S. dollar is going to keep its hegemony or not. Like the reality of it is that most people still want USD.
Right. So Iran has a dilemma, and from the point of view Iran,
Hmm.
they they're surrounded by stronger countries,
Mm,
namely China and the United States,
well, the United
and
States is not surrounding them. Israel is. It's a proxy for the United States, but it's a
sure,
slight difference. But whatever.
Iran has enemies,
Sure, they do. Saudi
and
Arabia being chief among them.
Bitcoin is a money that they can use no matter who they're dealing with, um, and
Sure.
because Bitcoin is pirate money.
Right.
I want to transition to that.
There you go.
So here's an
Nice,
interesting.
nice transition, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. Here's an interesting thing, and you know, with the toll booth and certain movies, Iran is being pirates now. It could be argued that the United States is being pirates as well. We're not going to focus too hard on the pirate part. We're going to focus more on the money part. So there's been pirate money in the United States before. And I would go back to the beginning of the United States when we first broke free from England. The most common money in use in the United States. Do you know what it was, Jack?
I do not. British pound?
Good guess, but it was not. The most common money was Spanish pieces of eight.
Okay.
So Spanish pieces of eight was silver
Mm-hmm.
that you could divide up into eight pieces. So it was nice. It was more divisible. Um, and you know the biggest silver mine was in South America, Peru area, and we didn't have like we were the new world. We were the others. Like most of the money, most of the gold and silver in the world, like money that was in circulation at the time in the 1700s, was all in Europe and
Mm-hmm.
Asia. Like all that's where the physical. There was no internet. There was no airplanes. Like all the physical money was in Asia and Europe. Like the Americas didn't really have a lot of money except for that silver mine that the Spanish were mining the silver, then the minting silver coins in South America. Then they'd ship most of them to Spain, where they would spend it, and a lot of and then they would also bring a bunch to China because China was on the silver standard at the time, so they could buy a lot of stuff, you know, silks and spices from China. So the Spanish pieces of eight traversed the whole world from South America to Europe to China, all the way around the whole world, and and the United States in the Constitution, and it still is in our Constitution, money can only be two things in the United States. There's only two forms of money that are allowed by our Constitution. And can you guess what those two forms of money are?
Yes, I can, but I already know, so it's not really a guess.
Okay, well, tell us.
Gold and
Tell the
silver.
audience that
Gold and
number.
silver.
Yes, not the dollar. It was gold and silver. And so those Spanish pieces of eight, they're just silver. And so we use it as money, and it was pirate money. Um, it was definitely pirate money because it could be used anywhere. And Spain can't really confiscate it. England can't confiscate it. We were the rebels. We had a revolution, broke free from England. We were no longer the subjects of the crown. We were no longer under the rule of the King of England. We were independent. We were independent pirates.
Yar.
England for sure viewed the United States as pirates at that time. We would definitely have been considered pirates. And so and we were using pirate money. We were using Spanish pieces of eight. So there's a long history of that in the United States, and Iran's using it, and Bitcoin is pirate money. I mean, look at the I mean the Silk Road, the drug, you know, the dark web, the drug dealing websites and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Like that's how Bitcoin started. And you know, just like Spanish pieces of eight, just because Bitcoin is used for those things doesn't mean Bitcoin's bad. It actually
Just like
proves
gold's not bad or silver's not bad.
right. Just like the U.S. dollar is not necessarily bad, and much more piracy is used with U.S. dollars than anything else. Much more crime is used with U.S. dollars than Bitcoin.
That's because the U.S. dollar is used the most. Period.
And Bitcoin's traceable, but Iran doesn't care. They don't care if it's traced. They just want it to not be seized and frozen,
Right.
and that is why
And they
Bitcoin
want to
is
be
pirate
able to
money.
not have it in a vault where it can be. It has
Yep,
to be guarded, or it can't be. That's it's easy to put it on a thumb drive and take off.
yep, yep. And so, and just like England could not freeze or seize our silver, our Spanish pieces of eight, the United States can't freeze or seize Iran's Bitcoin. And so that proves the most important use case. So why is that important? Well, gold. I'm not going to go too much into that. I'm not. It's just it's very useful. Well, no, it is. So gold has like a I don't know $30 trillion market cap right now. We could look it up on 8marketcap.com, if not marketcap.com, if we want to, if we want a visual. But um, why is gold that valuable is because gold is that unfreezable, unseizable money that countries can keep in their own vaults. Now, France and Germany and other countries have been storing some of their gold with us in the United States, and they're spending a lot of money to ship it back home now because they don't want us to seize and freeze their gold that's sitting in our vaults.
33 trillion.
That's the market cap of gold, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and other countries, even allies, strong allies like France and Germany, are taking their gold back from us because they don't want us to freeze and seize their gold. Once their gold is in their vaults in their country, they don't have to worry about any kind of crazy stuff that Trump does as far as money goes. And um, electricity. Okay, so
Pirate money.
pirate money.
Oh,
I mean that's why Bitcoin, right? And the reason Bitcoin is pirate money and Ethereum and Solana are not pirate money is because of electricity. So, because of proof of work, uh, Ethereum and Solana are kind of like corporations, honestly. Like instead of 12 a board director of 12 board members, they have Ethereum actually has millions of validators. Solana has around 800 right now. Um, but like the tokens themselves are kind of equivalent of votes.
they're
So
like
if you
shareholders, or yeah, like you
Sure,
said,
yeah, just like shareholders in corporations. So if you own more tokens, you have more power
governance. You get
over the
governance.
network.
Mm-hmm.
You have influence over the voting of the network, whereas Bitcoin is not like that. Michael Saylor and Coinbase and BlackRock, entities that have a lot of Bitcoin, they actually do not get to control the Bitcoin network. They don't get to tell the Bitcoin network what to do, like which soft fork to do. They don't get to control that. The validators do, and unlike the validators on Ethereum and Solana, the validators don't need a lot of money to be a validator. They don't need tokens to be a validator. They can just choose to be a validator with any old computer and an internet connection, which is why Bitcoin is the most decentralized. It's why Bitcoin is the most censorship resistant. It's why you can't freeze and seize Bitcoin. This is exactly why. Now those are the benefits of proof of work in Bitcoin. But there's a downs and that completely separates Bitcoin from Ethereum and Solana and all other proof of stake. Now Bitcoin is competing with the other proof of work coins, and
But
which
if
most
it
of
can,
which were
anybody name any of those real quick?
yeah, I'm going to because
No, I know you
they
can.
well they forked off of Bitcoin, right? Like Litecoin
Mm-hmm.
and then Dogecoin forked off of
Mm-hmm.
Litecoin. And what's funny is the creator of Litecoin, Charlie Lee, years ago he sold all of his Litecoin and bought Bitcoin with it. Like even Charlie Lee gave up on Litecoin. There's a lot of people who still love Litecoin, but
Well,
you
they were
know,
weren't they the small coiner or the small blockers or
small
the
block
no large
Bitcoin.
blockers? They were the large blockers.
No, they weren't any of that. Litecoins before any of that. So what you're referring to, Jack, is the block size wars. Now, I
Right.
read a book about that by Jonathan Beer, I believe, the Bitcoin block size war, which was in 2017, and so that was Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, like any kind of like Bitcoin fork around that time, and they're all trying to be faster than Bitcoin and cheaper than Bitcoin and all
That's
that.
right. Bitcoin Cash is what I was thinking
But
of.
Bitcoin in its current form is what succeeded because again, with the small block with the simplified blockchain, it's the most decentralized, most censorship resistant, and that is what is valuable. That is what's valuable. We already have the Swift network. We already have Chinese CBDCs. We already have Venmo. We already have PayPal. We already have Cash App. We already have the banking system. We can already move money around quickly and cheaply. We can already do that. But what we don't have is pirate money that we can move around. Now we have pirate money. Silver and gold is still pirate money, especially gold. Silver is just a common base metal that it's just too common. It's just too common of a metal. And but gold is right now still pirate money. Every bank, every government holds it because they're a bunch of pirates. They know it's legit, right? But how is Iran gonna get gold off the oil tanker in the Strait, right? That's where Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin is superior to gold in its ability to move around. It's way easier to move around than gold. So it's new. Gold is the old pirate money, and it's still it's current pirate money as well. Gold is current pirate money, and Bitcoin is current pirate money as well.
It's
And they have
pirate
different.
money 2.0.
Yeah, there you go. Bitcoin is pirate money 2.0. Gold is the original pirate money, and and silver as well. Any precious metals, but especially gold and silver, and currently gold. Silver is more of an industrial metal for electric because it conducts electricity better than any other metal. It's pretty much used just for that now. Anyway, and other things too. Whatever. I'm not a material scientist
Sure.
engineer. And
But
so
we were going to get to electricity.
yes, so that's why Bitcoin has the pirate money properties, is because a proof of stake chain like Ethereum or Solana, even though they're pretty decentralized, especially Ethereum is very decentralized for proof of stake. And the thing is, dude, Ethereum started out as proof of work. To me, Ethereum's biggest mistake they ever made was the merge.
I
Because
would agree with you.
yes, because before they were competing with Bitcoin to be pirate money. In fact, they were better than Bitcoin in every way, literally every way. It was slightly faster than Bitcoin. It was slightly less expensive than Bitcoin. And it was Turing complete and had smart contracts. And Ethereum was amazing right up until the merge. And when the merge happened, they went to proof of stake. And since then, Ethereum's price chart has been down only versus Bitcoin. And also, Ethereum is no longer credible competition to be pirate money. And the only competition for pirate money for Bitcoin, I would say, is Doge, which is a fork of Litecoin, um, because it's another proof of stake, proof of work chain. But most of the electricity is backing Bitcoin. All proof of work chains compete for electricity. There's only so much electricity in the world, and AI is competing for it. Every human that has electricity in their house is competing for it. Businesses that use electricity in their factories and whatever, everybody's competing for electricity. Proof of work is Bitcoin is competing for electricity versus the other proof of work coins, and Bitcoin uses a lot more electricity than Doge. And is that a bad thing? No, it means Bitcoin's more secure. It has more computers securing it. That's why it's using more electricity. Now, could that change in the future? Yes, which is why Doge is, to me, the only credible competition to Bitcoin, because it's the largest proof of work coin besides Bitcoin. But it's so small that, and also it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the reason people use Bitcoin is because it's the most simple, and and the only constraints, would be the speed, but then you have the Lightning Network. We're not, and Dogecoin's not that much faster than Bitcoin. It still would need its own Lightning Network to be.
But basically, I think you can boil that down to that part of the reason why Bitcoin is as successful as it is because it is slow.
Yes,
It is small. It means that the entire history can be put on a laptop,
yes. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars of tokens
hardware
to
or
vet to
hardware.
or hardware to verify it. But there is all this electricity now. Is that a bad thing, Jack?
Uh, no.
I would
I
say
don't.
no. I would say no for a number of reasons. One reason is that of the halving. Another reason is the difficulty adjustment. And the way these things work together is, so every 4 years the Bitcoin network cuts the block reward in half. And the block reward is what pays for all the electricity. to run
The
the
miners
miners.
run the
That's
computers that are specifically designed for the purpose of running
yes.
these crazy intense calculations,
Now,
which then turn that electricity into Bitcoin, which they then cash out to pay for some of that electricity and keep the profit.
and profit. Yep. And so, Jack, what would happen if every miner doubled their mining machines? They just bought twice as many and
Well,
turned them on. What would happen?
that's where the difficulty adjustment kicks in.
Right. So would Bitcoin use twice as much electricity?
Probably.
Yes, because it did.
I mean,
But
unless there was
what
something, yeah, unless
would
some
would
came through that made
yeah,
it
assuming everything else is the
right.
same, if they just doubled their mining machines, they had 1,000 miners. Now they have 2,000 miners, and if everybody that owned a Bitcoin miner doubled the amount of Bitcoin miners they owned and ran them, the amount of electricity that Bitcoin uses would double. But would the block reward double?
No,
Would the amount of money total that Bitcoin kicks out in any given time, to every 10 minutes or every day or every month or every year, would that change? Would that double?
no,
Would Bitcoin produce more money? No.
no, no.
Would the miners make the same amount of money?
No.
Why not?
Well, they might. I mean, it's a crapshoot. They theoretically they would make about the same. Yeah. I mean,
In
it's just
revenue, but would
right.
their profit be the same?
No, they would be
Would their profit double? Would they make
no.
twice as much money?
They would make less money in profit because they'd have to pay
They
more
would probably make
electricity.
half as much money
Right. They have to
because
pay for more
they had to
electricity.
double the amount
It's
of machines.
yeah, that's again. There's lots of these miners that are base load customers for whatever, so they get electricity far cheaper than the average person does. And then there's others that are running it
that's
on
where the
clean
miners are.
energy and they don't have to pay for it at all. I
Hmm.
mean, so it's just yeah, it just depends.
Right, and so because of the difficulty adjustment, because the Bitcoin network itself is programmed by Satoshi, hard coded, that if the miners double the amount of hash rate by doubling their mining machines, the network makes the math problem that they have to solve, that the miners are trying to solve, makes it twice as difficult to solve. So they tried to double their money by all doubling their machines, and it didn't work because Bitcoin fixed that. So now their costs just doubled. They doubled their machines, they doubled their electricity usage, they doubled their real estate. All their costs doubled. Now they're making less money. Now they're probably going bankrupt. They have to sell their mining machines. That half of the miners probably going bankrupt, and and then Bitcoin will be making, and then the electricity will go down to a balance where the block reward is equal to the miner's costs. And there's always going to be some miners that have lower costs than other miners, like you said, because electricity costs are cheaper in different locations. And the ones that have lower electricity costs will succeed and make more profit. The ones that have higher electricity costs, they'll go bankrupt. Bitcoin miners go bankrupt all the time. In fact, most of the Bitcoin miners on the American Stock Exchange are now AI data centers
Because they can make more money doing
because they can make
high
more money
compute.
doing AI, and because the difficulty adjustment, you can't just mine more Bitcoin by getting more Bitcoin miners. If everyone else does the same thing, then everyone's getting the same amount of Bitcoin they were getting before in block rewards, but with more machines. So less, if you double the amount of machines on the whole network, now it's half the amount of Bitcoin per machine getting mined in the same given amount of time because of the difficulty adjustment. It's very important to understand that.
Hmm.
On top of the difficulty adjustment, now you have the halving. So the halving cuts the block reward in half every 4 years as well. And so between the two, Bitcoin is continuously assuming Bitcoin stays the same price per coin. If the Bitcoin stays the same price per coin, then the Bitcoin network will use half the amount of electricity every 4 years. So that every 4 years, the Bitcoin network as a whole will use half the amount of electricity. Now, if in 4 years the price doubles in dollar terms or gold terms, then it'll use the same amount of electricity. So it's definitely limited by the price action as well.
Or more, right? Like, people can come in and start switching on new machines.
Sure. Yeah. So then it's a matter of uh, so then there. But then here's another concern. I heard it on the Ethereum Maximalist podcast, which I like quite a bit, but I think they're wrong about some things. But I still like their podcast, Bankless. I was just listening to it today. They actually had a whole episode on how Ethereum is money, and they kind of glossed over the part where Ethereum is proof of stake and Bitcoin's proof of work. And the only thing they mentioned was they just said a bunch of negative things about Bitcoin. And the one thing they said is that eventually Bitcoin is not going to have much of a block reward after it halves and halves and halves and halves a few times. The block reward is going to be really small, which is true. And then the only way that Bitcoin miners, because, and you don't want Bitcoin to get 51% attack. So you do want it to use, some electricity because you want it to be expensive. If you're a Bitcoin holder and you want the Bitcoin network to be secure, you want a decent amount of electricity to be used so that it's harder for somebody to hack it with a 51% attack to attack the network. And the Ethereum Maxi's argument is that, well, since the budget for the miners gets cut in half every 4 years, eventually the budget will be so small that it'll be easy. It'll be easy and inexpensive to 51% attack Bitcoin. And they might be right about that, except for one thing. The miners also get paid in transaction fees.
Well,
And
and
so,
also that's assuming that there's no price appreciation, right?
right,
Like
right,
if Bitcoin goes to $1 million someday, then
right,
you'll own that fraction of a Bitcoin that you're going to be earning in 50 years is still going to be substantial.
right. But eventually, Bitcoin is going to plateau in price in real terms. It'll always go up in dollar terms because there's always going to be more dollars printed because we're past the point of no return on U.S. government debt. But maybe in gold terms or in gold terms, it'll probably still go up, 1.5% per year because gold, there's a 1.5% new gold supply every year. But eventually, Bitcoin's not going to go up in price. It's not going to double every 4 years as it has been. Bitcoin has been doubling every 4 years, in more than doubling every 4 years. Bitcoin's been going up in price a lot, but it's already starting to kind of not be the fastest horse in the race. A fast horse still, but not the fastest. And as time goes on, Bitcoin will be a slower and slower horse as far as price appreciation. And eventually, these Ethereum maximalists are right. Something has to be done, and they give a bunch of dumb things, ideas.
I
But
mean,
my
I
idea,
don't know that that's true actually. And I mean,
well, I think,
it would be long after we're gone where that
yeah, it
would
might be
even
100
become.
years.
It would be more than that, but
Well, 126 years or whatever in 2040 or
yes, we'll run out of
2144,
Bitcoin, but by
there's going to
then
be
it'll
zero
be
block reward.
but which won't matter at that point because the transaction fees are still going to be substantial. Like it's
Yes,
still
and
going
that's
to be highly lucrative
and yes,
to be able to, put the blocks down. So like
yes,
it's still going to be, and that's the thing, is like nothing necessarily needs to be done,
I
right?
agree.
Like
I
price
agree.
appreciation may continue to go up, and like you said, in one because of an increase of supply of gold, for example, but beyond that, like America may not be printing money anymore, or we may not be like at a certain point, like like it's money, the money supply in general is going up. Like it's not just us, right? So gold is appreciating like crazy too, right? Everything is going up in real terms against every currency that's fiat. When you talk about real value, well, I mean, I would argue that once
Gold is a good start
what's that?
for real value. For holding real value, gold is a good start
It is.
to
I would
measure things with.
oh, to measure things, yes, as a yardstick for sure.
Yeah,
I would argue that that right now, even those people that are somewhat educated on Bitcoin and understand it even a little bit haven't the majority of those people that aren't super well into it and like geeked out about it probably don't even realize that it's a better version of gold.
yes,
And so when those people start to realize that there's a better version of gold, that it's no longer the best thing to keep your store your wealth in is gold, like then the price will continue to appreciate because of that fact. Like there's
yes.
I believe that there will always be some reason why people look at Bitcoin and go, that is more valuable than it was.
Jack, I agree with all of those things. 100%. Yes, someday, in 100 years, in fact, within 100 years, or in 100 and however many years, Bitcoin will have to rely only on transaction fees. There will be no block reward whatsoever. And so, but and you're confident that those transaction fees will be enough to sustain the network. And I agree with that too. But why?
Why
Why
will
are
they?
those fees going to be enough? And I did the math, and if at today's electricity usage with today's dollars, for Bitcoin to be secured only by transaction fees and no block reward, if that happened today, the transaction fees would have to be around like $80, 80 to
Okay.
$100. So which is expensive, but it's doable, and I think it's entirely, especially within 100 years for sure, right? So why is one Bitcoin transaction worth, why would people be willing to pay $100 to do a Bitcoin transaction? Why is it worth that much money to them?
Well, because of its ability to move anywhere. Like,
Yes.
I mean,
How much did it cost those countries to move their gold out of here? Like $1 billion.
yeah, I don't know.
Put it on a boat and ship it and insure it and all that shit. And moving that same amount of money with Bitcoin for $100, pretty fucking cheap.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's pirate money, and it's the best pirate money ever invented, better than gold. And so and it moves cheaper than gold. You don't have to insure it. You don't have to risk, sinking to the bottom of the ocean, or the plane crashing out of the sky and sinking into the bottom of the ocean as well, right? Like, um, it's fantastic, and $100 is a steal when you compare it to the old pirate money.
Alternatives, yeah.
The cost of shipping gold. Gold is
Or
way
just
more
even the
expensive.
cost of shipping
Now,
dollars.
is shipping dollars easy? Yes. But is dollars pirate money? No, it is not, Jack. If you want pirate money, you got to pony up, because pirate money is the most valuable money of all, Jack.
Mm-hmm. Yar.
And so, yes, I 100% agree. $100 a transaction. Those fucking oil tankers that Iran is charging $1 per barrel. Well, those oil tankers hold 2 million barrels of oil.
Mm-hmm.
That's $2 million. And then it's like, that works out to be like 280 Bitcoin or something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a huge transaction. $100, no
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Right.
And actually, they're only paying like $1 right now, or 30 cents or something. These Bitcoin transactions are silly cheap because they're being subsidized right now. And as that subsidy keeps getting cut in half, the fees will have to go up. And I believe Jack and I both believe that they will, and I think they will. Which brings me to our final point, which is
Ideal money.
ideal money. So ideally, Bitcoin would have greater transaction capacity,
But it doesn't.
but it doesn't.
And it won't be the ideal money.
That's the beautiful thing about all this, is that even Bitcoin is not perfect, because it is slow, and it is $100 per
Well,
transaction.
no, I
That
don't
is
know. I would argue that it might actually be perfect for its intended use. I know, I know, I
because of
know.
the decentralization.
Well, because of everything else except it being capable of being the world's money, right? Like
Well,
it is everything else you want it to be except that. And I almost would say that it probably is better that it isn't that. And I'll say that because like while I think it's pirate money and it can be, I love the fact that it's peer to peer, and I think that it's always intended to be able to be given. You want to give me some Bitcoin, you can. Um, but I don't think that its intended use was to be the daily spending currency that everyone
no,
uses. I don't think
it
that's
was
in
never
it.
able to do that.
It was never intended to do that.
No,
So it was never
Satoshi put
going.
the news article in the first block.
Yes, he did.
He Satoshi stamped the intention of Bitcoin in the first block.
Yep. Yep. I know. But people argue, well, it's supposed to be a cash, and
And
it's like,
if you
well,
want
it
to use
is
it
a
as cash,
cash.
use the Lightning Network.
And it is a cash. Like it's just an expensive one to use like that. You don't want to buy coffee with it. It's too valuable.
But you can buy coffee with the Lightning Network.
You can buy it. I wouldn't.
They do it in El Salvador.
Sure, but I wouldn't. I mean, unless there was some incentive to, like maybe I was on the run from my government. you know.
Right.
Then maybe I'd be happy to buy my coffee with Bitcoin in the Lightning Network, but like that's only because I have to, right?
Mhm.
I would much rather keep wealth there because that's what it's better at.
Yes. Like there's multiple properties of money, and Bitcoin does not Bitcoin's not the best medium of exchange. Right now, actually the dollar is. But Bitcoin is the best store of value as far as the monies go,
Mm-hmm.
even better than gold
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
And Bitcoin is a better medium of exchange and a better store of value than gold. But it is only a better store of value than the dollar. It is not a better medium of exchange than the dollar. Although the Lightning Network could be argued to be a better exchange than the dollar, but we're talking about layer one on chain Bitcoin right now.
Yeah.
And then we can toss in Ethereum and Solana,
Bless you,
especially
bless you.
Solana. Sorry, is a much better medium of exchange, but it's not. Solana and Ethereum are not better stores of value than Bitcoin. For some reason we talk
Man.
about. I think we've covered it honestly.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you could make an argument that there's a better ideal money, but we haven't found it yet. And I think we can leave it there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? We are going kind
No,
of long.
no. I think yeah, we beat this horse pretty hard.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for listening to us. I hope you learned something, and we will see you guys next week later on.